So I think the question then becomes, what actually constitutes an ideology? For some terrorist groups, the answer is obvious. You look at something like Islamic State or Al Qaeda or the far right groups, white supremacists, white nationalist groups. There's a position. There is usually some kind of a manifesto, some kind of documentation that outlines why they exist, what they're seeking to change, and justification for acts of violence to do that. There's no question that in some cases, in some extreme cases, the incel movement has resorted to violence as well, but I'm not so sure this is a well-stated ideology. I think this is just, as I mentioned, this is feeling by people who are simply frustrated with their lot in life, frustrated by their inability to form relationships, and therefore they're lashing out. I don't know that that constitutes an ideology, and hence this is perhaps why, at least in the case in Canada, the prosecution did not elect to lay terrorism charges under Section 83.1, which states that a crime must be, or a serious act of violence must be committed or planned for ideological, political, or religious reasons. There's always another possibility as to why the terrorism charges were not laid, and that's the difficulty in proving that motivation. If you're a prosecutor and you have good evidence that somebody has committed a crime or is planning to commit a crime such as murder or assault, whether or not it's successful or not, that's easier to prove than the reasons for which that crime was planned, i.e. you have to prove motivation, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this in fact was the driving factor behind this particular crime. And that is, it is orders of magnitude more difficult than proving the intent. So the motivation and intent are two different things. This is why I think we've seen this happen, whereby the Crown has elected not to go with charges under Section 83.1, at least in Canada, with respect to terrorism.